Welcome to Explained Simply. Let's explore interesting things in the world together. Today let's find out every hidden advantage of your birth month explained. 1. January. The Winter Warrior's Blueprint. If you're a January baby, your very biology was forged in the cold, long before you experienced your first snowflake. Being conceived and developed during the darkest stretch of the year meant your body had to adapt in unique ways. Late-stage pregnancy with minimal sunlight prompted your mother's body to rely more on melatonin and brown fat. That's specialized heat-making tissue that helps regulate warmth and burn energy more efficiently. This foundational development bestows a hidden advantage upon January-born individuals, a natural aptitude for cold tolerance, a slightly more efficient baseline metabolism, and often a naturally leaner physique. But the Winter Warrior blueprint isn't without its trade-offs. The low maternal vitamin D levels during the third trimester, a direct consequence of reduced sunlight, have been linked to slightly higher risks of preterm birth and lower birth weight. As January babies grow into adulthood, research suggests a marginally increased predisposition to higher blood pressure, schizophrenia, and multiple sclerosis. These aren't dramatic risks, but rather subtle influences of your early environmental timing that most people are completely unaware of. You're built to thrive in the cold, often seeking out novel experiences like a refreshing cold plunge, thanks to an inherent novelty-seeking trait. But your unique biology carries both resilience and specific vulnerabilities. 2. February. Forging a strong immune system. If you arrived in February, your birth month placed you squarely in the middle of peak virus season, meaning you were more likely to encounter colds and respiratory bugs during your crucial first year. While this might sound like a disadvantage, it's actually a powerful upside. This early exposure pushed your nascent immune system to mature more quickly and become stronger than most. Your body learned to fight from day one, developing a robust defense mechanism. You also tend to run more efficient fevers, those that reach optimal temperatures faster, allowing your body to clear infections with greater speed and efficacy. However, this early life immune system training also shapes your susceptibility to certain allergies. February-born babies, like others in colder months, are more prone to reactions against early life food exposures, such as cow's milk or eggs. In contrast, babies born in warmer months often develop pollen-related sensitivities instead, a pattern largely dictated by the allergens present during their initial months of life. There's another notable downside: a slightly higher risk of childhood asthma and an increased risk of type 1 diabetes. Researchers believe these conditions are ironically linked to the very same early viral exposures that initially toughened your immune system, highlighting a complex interplay between early environmental challenges and long-term health. On a lighter note, February is the least common birth month, making your birthday, especially if it falls on the 29th, quite unique. Small studies even hint that leap day babies might enjoy slightly longer lifespans, perhaps because only the most resilient make the cut. 3. March. Spring's first embrace and health boost. March babies are uniquely positioned to reap benefits that elude those born in the depths of winter. As the last stretch of your development unfolded, sunlight began its steady return, leading to a crucial rise in your mother's vitamin D levels during her third trimester. This natural boost often translates into tangible physical differences. March babies generally arrive a little heavier, exhibit better bone mineralization, and boast slightly superior lung development, all directly linked to that vital late pregnancy vitamin D. There's another subtle but significant advantage. Babies due in early spring tend to gestate slightly longer than those developing through the darkest months. This extra time in the womb allows for additional growth, aligning perfectly with the higher birth weights observed in March-born infants. The advantages for March babies extend far beyond infancy. As adults, individuals born in March demonstrate lower risks of autoimmune diseases, maintain lower average blood pressure, and show reduced rates of obesity later in life. This is possibly due to vitamin D's crucial role in regulating how the body manages fat and energy. Furthermore, studies have indicated that March-born adults tend to score higher on IQ tests and exhibit a reduced risk of ADHD. Researchers theorize this cognitive edge might stem from more stable maternal hormone levels experienced during the transition from late winter to early spring. While there's a minor downside, consistent with all winter births, a slightly elevated chance of childhood asthma. Overall, a March birthday places you right at the year's turning point, where winter recedes, light returns, and your biology reflects the burgeoning benefits of spring. 4. April. The sweet spot for development. April babies hit a remarkable, just right, window for development, enjoying some of Mother Nature's most ideal conditions. Your mother navigated her final trimester during mild weather, characterized by steady temperatures and ample sunlight. A far cry from the freezing depths of winter or the sweltering heat of summer. This calm, stable environment during late pregnancy helps keep maternal stress low, which in turn fosters a calmer physiological development for the baby. Across diverse populations, April births consistently show some of the most optimal birth weights, and their lungs tend to develop exceptionally well when maternal vitamin D levels are adequate and the risk of late pregnancy infections is lower. Data indicates reduced rates of childhood asthma in many groups. This time of year also brings another advantage. Babies conceived in midsummer and born in early spring are more likely to grow taller as adults and tend to experience puberty a bit later. Adults born in April often exhibit higher stress resistance and demonstrate a greater likelihood of pursuing higher levels of education. Researchers link these positive patterns to the more optimal and stable developmental conditions experienced in the womb during this mild period. The only significant trade-off for April babies emerges later in life. Being born just before peak pollen season means that as toddlers, they are more susceptible to seasonal allergies. This isn't due to pregnancy conditions, but rather because their initial major exposure to allergens coincides precisely with the seasonal spike. Despite this minor sinus complaint, an April birthday signifies a start in life under nearly perfect natural conditions. 5. May. The healthiest start in life. If you were born in May, consider yourself fortunate, as you landed in what is consistently one of the healthiest birth months of the year. Your gestation journeyed through the winter into early spring, but your arrival perfectly timed itself just before the intense heat and heavy grass pollen season truly kicked in, creating an almost ideal developmental setup. By the time your mother entered her final trimester, sunlight was abundant and consistent, ensuring her vitamin D levels were robust and improving. Crucially, far fewer viruses were circulating during this period. With reduced infection risks and a more stable maternal physiology, your last stretch of development unfolded under superior conditions compared to most babies born in the colder months. Thanks to these optimal circumstances, May babies tend to start life with solid birth weights, strong early lung function, and a healthier overall developmental trajectory during their crucial first months. The advantages don't just stop at infancy. Extensive large-scale studies have revealed that May births exhibit the lowest overall lifetime disease risk of any month. This includes fewer hospital visits for chronic conditions and a significant 10 to 15% lower risk of heart disease, likely linked to highly efficient cardiovascular development during that perfectly timed last trimester. The only mild drawback is one your mother experienced during pregnancy, not at your birth. Most of her pregnancy overlapped with winter, meaning she was battling cold and flu season while limited to mild remedies like Tylenol. She endured the risk of illness so you wouldn't have to, a sacrifice for which, honestly, you probably owe her. 6. June. Sunshine and strong foundations. June offers a unique advantage that no other month quite matches: maximum daylight exposure right as you enter the world. This abundance of natural light is incredibly beneficial, helping your internal clock synchronize with a strong day-night rhythm from the very beginning. The result is often steadier, more predictable sleep-wake patterns during infancy, laying a solid foundation for healthy routines. All that natural light also profoundly impacts mood. Compared to winter births, June babies are less likely to experience seasonal affective problems or depression later in life, suggesting a naturally brighter disposition. Similar to May babies, those born in June tend to have higher birth weights, indicative of robust early development. They also typically develop stronger bones and tend to go through puberty later, a trait often linked to overall health and longevity. At least part of these physical benefits stems from avoiding the worst seasonal infections during infancy, and benefiting from ample daylight to support healthy growth and vitamin D synthesis. Interestingly, there also appears to be a subtle edge for June babies in certain sports. Some studies indicate that individuals born in early summer perform slightly better in precision-based activities such as tennis and golf, perhaps due to factors related to early development. The one significant downside for June babies is a higher chance of developing myopia or nearsightedness. The exact reasons are still being investigated, but researchers hypothesize it might be connected to how early life light exposure influences eye growth. Nevertheless, a June birthday means you began life with the longest days on your side. shaping strong circadian rhythms, healthy growth, and a naturally optimistic mood. Even if those sunny days might not always appear as crystal clear to you as they do to others. 7. July. Born for the heat and athleticism. Being born in July means your body learned to navigate summer heat long before you mastered basic movements like rolling over. When pregnancy concludes during sustained periods of warmth, the maternal cardiovascular system works harder to maintain a cool internal environment for both mother and baby. Combined with spending the newborn period in the warmest stretch of the year, this timing pushes your own cardiovascular and temperature control systems to mature more quickly. This accelerated development is why July babies tend to tolerate warm weather better than those born in colder months, a significant advantage that lasts a lifetime. Later in life, this inherent heat tolerance proves invaluable. Research consistently shows that July babies possess an athletic edge, particularly in endurance and outdoor sports where managing heat is crucial. Think distance running, cycling, or soccer, activities where staying comfortable in high temperatures directly impacts performance. July births also exhibit slightly higher testosterone levels during adolescence, a factor some researchers believe may contribute to advantages in certain sports. Like June babies, those born in July typically fall within a healthier birth weight range. There's also a minor correlation between midsummer births and higher adolescent activity levels, likely because individuals who handle heat well are naturally more inclined to spend time outdoors. However, there are trade-offs. While July-born individuals tend to have lower rates of multiple sclerosis, they face a higher risk of skin cancer, especially if they have fair skin. They are also more susceptible to certain food allergies, particularly to summer fruits and vegetables like peaches, melons, and berries. Furthermore, July newborns are more vulnerable to dehydration and heat stress during their first fragile weeks. But once past that initial window, they're often the ones comfortably enjoying the weather while everyone else complains about the sweltering heat. 8. August. Peak summer perks and school challenges. If you made your appearance in August, the full force of summer sunlight was deeply woven into your biology. Your final stretch of development occurred during the peak of summer, a time when your mother's vitamin D levels were at their absolute highest for the entire year. Like other summer babies, those born in August tend to arrive a bit heavier, develop stronger bones, experience puberty later, and grow into slightly taller adults. This summer timing also seems to leave a distinct mark on temperament. Individuals born in August consistently show slightly lower rates of depression and bipolar disorder. And they tend to be more optimistic and extroverted compared to their winter-born counterparts. Some studies even suggest August babies are more likely to identify as morning people, a trait potentially influenced by all that third trimester daylight seeping in. Socially, August holds the distinction of being the most common birth month in many places, including the US. This often translates to a larger peer group growing up around you and birthday parties with a built-in crowd. However, there's one significant aspect of August that nearly everyone experiences: the school cutoff. In most regions, September 1st marks the grade line, making August babies the youngest in their classroom. This age gap, which can sometimes be almost a full year, frequently manifests in early test scores, higher rates of special education referrals, and even ADHD diagnoses. These are often not true developmental issues but rather a reflection of younger children being compared to their older, more mature peers. While this initial disadvantage typically levels out over time, the early academic and social challenges are a very real part of the August birth experience. 9. September. The academic head start. Being born in September grants you a distinct advantage that many people never fully recognize. Thanks to the classic September 1st school cutoff, you are often the oldest child in your classroom. This seemingly simple age difference isn't just about a slight edge in height or coordination. It profoundly shapes academic performance. Research consistently demonstrates that September-born children score higher on early academic tests, are significantly less likely to require special education services, and even go on to earn more money in adulthood. This remarkable head start is primarily attributed to that initial age gap, providing you with a crucial running start in your educational journey. As you arrive at the tail end of summer, your development still benefits significantly from robust vitamin D levels. Just like other summer months, individuals born in September tend to exhibit a slightly taller stature and enjoy lower risks of multiple sclerosis and schizophrenia. Studies have even found an intriguing link between September births and increased longevity. with some research suggesting these individuals are more likely to live past 100. This pattern is connected to the healthier gestational environments experienced during the third trimester. Beyond academics, September children also find an advantage in sports leagues that utilize fall cutoffs. Being the oldest in your age group often translates to more playing time, increased confidence from an early age, and better chances of being selected for advanced teams when those differences in maturity and skill matter most. Downsides for September babies are remarkably limited, with the primary one being a slightly higher chance of pollen sensitivities during early childhood, due to overlapping with heavy seasonal allergens. Otherwise, September presents an exceptionally strong profile for lifelong advantages. 10. October. Built for strength and mental wellness. October babies are truly built differently, often exhibiting superior health and strength compared to most. Studies consistently highlight several remarkable advantages: higher bone density, a lower overall cancer risk, and approximately a 10% reduced chance of cardiovascular disease later in life. These are not isolated findings but consistent patterns observed across diverse populations, making October one of the standout months in birth month research. Beyond physical health, there's a significant mental health advantage that often goes unmentioned. Individuals born in October show some of the lowest rates of schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. And suicide rates are notably lower, about 17% below annual averages. This powerful combination of physical robustness and strong mental health protection places October births near the top in longevity research, often alongside September. In terms of performance, October birthdays appear in unexpected places, particularly in sports. Children born this month tend to excel in power and coordination tests, demonstrating superior grip strength, vertical jumps, and sprint starts. They are disproportionately represented in high-impact sports like hockey and football. For instance, nearly a quarter of all NHL players were born between October and December, reflecting a consistent pattern of stronger early physical development that provides a competitive edge. The primary drawback for October babies mostly occurs in their early years. They face a higher risk of childhood asthma and more frequent respiratory illnesses during infancy, largely because they arrive just as virus season begins to accelerate. While most of these early challenges fade with age, they can make the first stretch of life a little rougher than average. Despite these initial hurdles, October stacks up as one of the strongest profiles of the year, offering a solid physical build, robust mental health protection, and an inherent athletic advantage. 11. November. Resilience and endurance. November babies tend to land on the more resilient end of the health spectrum, exhibiting impressive advantages in both mental and physical well-being. Across massive population studies, they consistently show some of the lowest rates of schizophrenia, depression, and seasonal affective disorder, SAD, throughout the entire year. Beyond these significant mental health protections, November-born infants are often described as easier babies, characterized by fewer tantrums, calmer temperaments, and an overall happier disposition compared to those born during the darker winter months. The physical health profile is equally robust. November births carry a 10 to 15% lower risk of heart disease and lung cancer, and they rank remarkably high in longevity research, standing shoulder to shoulder with September and October. Children born in November tend to perform exceptionally well in endurance and cardio-focused activities. Youth data consistently shows 7 to 10% higher V02 max scores, an indicator of aerobic fitness. This pattern of endurance prowess extends into adulthood, with marathon runners showing a higher likelihood of having fall birthdays, and November being strongly represented among long-distance athletes. Add in the slight maturity boost from being on the older end of the school year, and early academics also tend to tilt in your favor. However, the initial months of life for November babies are not always smooth. Newborns arriving as late fall deepens spend their first weeks indoors during peak virus circulation, leading to higher rates of respiratory infections and an increased chance of childhood asthma. And here's a fun, quirky fact. November babies are a little more likely to grow into night owls, a tendency researchers speculate may come from being born as daylight hours begin to dramatically shorten. 12. December. The winter sports champion. If you were born in December, the odds are stacked in your favor for winter sports, especially if you grew up anywhere near a hockey rink. In leagues that group children by calendar year, a December birthday means you're often one of the oldest, and frequently the biggest, on your team. Coaches naturally gravitate towards stronger, more coordinated kids, which translates into more ice time, placement on better teams, and more dedicated attention. This compounding advantage over years is a key reason why a substantial share of Canadian professional hockey players are born between October and December. With December contributing significantly to this trend, your health statistics are also quite favorable. December births show lower rates of several major neurological conditions, including a notable 15% reduced risk of multiple sclerosis. And thanks to that early life exposure to cold, individuals born this month often develop a better natural tolerance for low temperatures. Personality-wise, December babies are frequently described as even-tempered and generally more optimistic. Unlike the night owl tendency of November births, you are a little more likely to be a morning person, which often makes school routines and daytime structures much easier to manage. The challenging part of a December birthday lies in how you begin. December newborns arrive just as winter viruses reach their peak, leading to higher odds of early respiratory infections. Don't forget to support this kind of content by subscribing and watching this other super curious video you'll love.